The parking lot behind Elmridge High was already crowded when Solomon Dryden pulled in, his Dodge Charger rolling to a slow stop near the chain-link fence. The school, a weathered red brick building common in small Texas towns, was buzzing with families in dress clothes, kids waving homemade signs, and grandparents leaning on walkers. Solomon stepped out, his deep blue Marine uniform immaculate, boots polished to a mirror shine. It wasn't about showing off, it was just the way he did things. He reached into the glove compartment and pulled out a worn photograph, his late wife holding their son, Tyron, as a baby. He slipped it into his jacket pocket. "I promised you," he murmured, "I wouldn't miss this." The gym inside was packed, the air a mix of concession stand popcorn and floor wax. Metal folding chairs covered the floor, bleachers were filled to capacity. Solomon handed his printed ticket to a volunteer with a clipboard, who pointed him toward the third row in the family section. He took his seat without fuss, posture straight, eyes scanning the stage. Tyron was lined up with his classmates, tall and lanky, the spitting image of his mother in the eyes. Solomon thought of the night Tyron was born, how he'd flown home from Okinawa with dirt still under his fingernails just to hold him for the first time. The crowd rose for the national anthem. Solomon stayed at attention, his presence alone a salute. As the last note faded, two security guards in black polos and cargo pants began making their way toward him. They weren't police, Harlan Security Services badges were clipped to their belts. One was short and broad, the other tall and chewing gum like he was bored. They stopped beside Solomon. "Sir, we're gonna need you to come with us," the shorter one said quietly. Solomon turned his head. "Is there a problem?" "This section's for families of graduating seniors," the tall one added. Solomon produced his ticket. "Third row, left side. Family seating." The short guard didn't even glance at it. "We've been told it's full." "It was full when I sat down too," Solomon said evenly. "Who gave that order?" The tall guard shifted uncomfortably. "Look, it's not a big deal. We've got seats in the back. Let's not make this into something." Solomon's voice dropped. "I drove 8 hours to watch my son graduate. I'll be sitting right here." People nearby started to notice. A woman whispered to her husband, and a phone tilted up to record. "Sir, I'm asking one more time," the short guard said. "You can ask all day," Solomon replied, not moving. The tall one tried again. "You might be more comfortable in the back." The words weren't about comfort, and Solomon knew it. He stared ahead, calm but unyielding. The short guard muttered into his radio, still watching him. An older woman beside Solomon leaned toward him. "Don't you let them move you," she whispered. He nodded once. The guards didn't leave, they hovered, their presence meant to remind him who had the authority. They didn't understand Solomon had lived in places where authority was life or death. He'd faced worse than a high school gym with folding chairs. Then the gym doors opened. 6 men entered, separate but the same, shoulders squared, eyes scanning, movements measured. They took seats in different spots, blending in but unmistakable to anyone who knew. Solomon didn't turn. He didn't need to. These were men he'd served with, men who'd followed him through mud and gunfire and back. The guards didn't know yet, but they would. A few more names were called on stage. The taller guard leaned closer. "I'm trying to do you a favor." Solomon's eyes flicked to him. "You don't have that kind of favor to offer." The short guard bristled. "Listen, man, you're making this into a situation. And you're not listening." A man 10 feet away stood slowly, clean-shaven, broad-framed, arms crossed. Creed Marston. Solomon had dragged him through 200 yards of Kandahar sand under gunfire. Creed stepped into the aisle. "Is there a reason this man's being bothered?" "We've got this under control," the tall guard said. "No," Creed replied, "you don't." More men stood now, 4 of them in total, scattered but connected by something unspoken. "You don't put your hands on him," Creed said, voice calm but carrying. The guards hesitated, glancing around, realizing they weren't dealing with a lone man anymore. Solomon stayed silent, still seated, letting the moment play out. In his mind, he was back in Afghanistan, dust, heat, and chaos, the day he pulled Creed and others from the wreckage after an IED flipped their convoy. 6 men alive because he hadn't hesitated. That kind of loyalty didn't vanish with time. Back in the gym, the tension thickened. The short guard stepped forward again, leaning so close his belt brushed Solomon's knee. "You think wearing that uniform makes you better than everybody else? This is a high school, not your base." The words landed hard in the quiet. Solomon met his gaze. "You need to walk away." Creed moved closer. "If you touch him, you'll answer to me." "Who the hell are you?" the guard asked. "The man telling you this ends right now." The principal arrived, whispering to the guards. Whatever she said made them step back and head for the exit, faces tight. Creed sat, the others remained standing. From the stage, Tyron had seen it all. He'd heard stories about his father's service, but never seen the men behind them. Now he understood. The ceremony pressed on, but the energy had shifted. When Tyron's name was called, the applause swelled, not chaotic, but deliberate. The 6 men clapped in unison, their silence and presence a salute. Tyron walked across the stage, chin high, finding his father's eyes in the crowd. Solomon didn't wave, he just smiled, small but full of meaning. Outside afterward, Creed and 2 others joined Solomon. "You okay?" Creed asked. "I've been through worse," Solomon said. "Still shouldn't have happened," Meeks added. "You did what needed to be done," Solomon told them. That was enough. Near the flagpole, Tyron spotted his father and crossed the lot. "They tried to move you," he said. "I was ready to walk off that stage." "And that's why you didn't," Solomon replied. "You handled your moment. Didn't let anyone take it from you." Tyron glanced toward the men by the exit. "Who were they?" "Men I bled with," Solomon said simply. "Men who know loyalty." Tyron nodded. That was powerful. "It was necessary," Solomon said. "Sometimes standing in silence says more than shouting." Back at the charger, Tyron asked, "Why didn't you say anything to those guards?" "Because I don't have to stand up for who I am, and I don't need to raise my voice to be heard," Solomon said. "Life will hand you 100 chances to react with anger. Most times, dignity lasts longer." He pulled the photo from his pocket. "I carried this through Kandahar, through losing your mom, and I carried it here today. It reminds me what's worth protecting." "You always knew who had your back," Tyron said. "I didn't need to know," Solomon replied. "Real men don't vanish when it's uncomfortable. They show up." Creed glanced toward the charger before getting into his own car, the gesture a silent promise. "So what now?" Tyron asked. "Now we drive home. You pick dinner." "Waffle House," Tyron grinned. Solomon chuckled. "Of course." As they pulled away, the school faded in the mirror, but the lesson remained. Some people shout to be seen, others sit in silence and are never forgotten.